Okay, we're picking up after the perfect circle, perfect sphere lab. And what I want to do is I want to go through and I want to reload that sketch that I had. So if you didn't save that sketch, it's real easy to redo the perfect circle and perfect sphere lab once you've done it. So what I'm going to do though is I'm going to come in here and you'll notice that I've called that perfect circle THARP. That is I'll show you how to do that name change right now before we get into the rest of this lab. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to load that sketch and you'll see that it's loading stroke by stroke. And that perfect sphere right now is one stroke. And so one of the things before we go on, I'm going to save this as a new sketch, but to save it as a new sketch, I've got to make a change. So I'm going to erase that line there, but I don't want that whole line gone. So I'm going to undo that and I'm going to grab the snip and I'm going to separate that right there so that I can just delete that little section right there. That is the idea of what we're going to do with this lab. But now that I have done this, what I'm going to do is I'm going into Save Sketch and I'm going to change Save New and I'll take a picture of it. Now, when I go back to the sketchbook, you'll see that there's the three little dot ellipse. Now that's been called Untitled 55. So what I do is I click on that and I choose this rename sketch. Now, when you're first starting out, this may not seem like a big deal, but the ability to rename your sketches from inside of OpenBrush is a fantastic tool that was added in the last release. So what I want to do is I'm going to call that, I'm going to call this Snip because we're going to go into the snipping tool. Snip Lab. And I'm going to put my name on there just because, and that would be a good habit for you to get into for when I'm having you submit your sketches as well. So once I've done that, I press enter, I go back and you'll see that it is now called Snip Lab THARP. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go to our perfect circle. And I'm actually going to, I'm kind of aligning it. You won't be able to see this because of the camera, but this sphere has a start and an end point, which represents where my line started and ended. And what I'm going to do is we're going to go into, and this tool is in the tools palette. Again, I'm in the advanced, I'm not in the beginner. You don't have the snipping tool when you're in the beginner. So you need to go to advanced mode. And you choose, it'll be in the tools palette, you choose snip, and then you just take and start snipping the strokes. Now I don't think you're going to be able to see that real well. You'll be able to see it real well from in virtual reality, but the capture camera makes it a little bit more difficult. So I'm just going to snip all of these, and as you snip it, they go from being one stroke, which is what it was before. So I could have only done anything to that entire sphere. In fact, I'll go backwards to show you that. So I'm using the undo button and I'm going to walk backwards to the point where I started snipping this. And I'm going to put it back together. And to demonstrate this, when I select this, it selects the entire thing. So I'm going to go back to my snipping tool, and I'm going to snip it all the way around so that it becomes a whole bunch of strokes. And then you can manipulate each of these strokes individually. So there's really, now, the limit to this is that it uses some kind of a mathematical algorithm in order to do this. I'm actually going inside here to look and see that I've gotten all the snips right. What I want to do is I want to select one half of that sphere. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to select all of that side. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go to the repaint tool. And I'm going to change that to a color of blue. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to repaint all of the strokes on this side. Actually, I'm not going to redo all of them. I keep changing my mind in the middle here. And again, I can use the undo. I'm just going to change some of these strokes. I'm just going to recolor them. And then as I spin that, you can see that this side has been recolored, that side hasn't. So to understand what the snipping did, it broke these, what was one stroke, into now many strokes. But now I want to rejoin them. And there's going to be some weird stuff happen because I have changed the two different sides. So what we're going to start with, and I go back to, next to the snipping tool is the join tool. And what the join tool does is allows me to reconnect strokes. And so you'll notice that that turned blue. So this is the stroke that I rejoined. Now I'm going to rejoin. And you'll notice that they're color changing to whatever was the first, the properties of whatever was the first thing that I rejoined, that I clicked when I rejoined them. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to reconnect this whole thing. And if I did that properly, you'll see that when I click it, it is all back to being, oh, I missed one join. But that's a helpful thing to see. It's back to being one item, and when we repaint it here, the whole thing goes back to the original colors. So that is what I'd like you to do for this lab, is go in. I would like you to play with the snipping and joining tool. So snip it first, do some manipulations, join it, experiment with it and see what it does for you. And then I will have you go into your camera, take a picture. Now make sure you've done something so that I can see that it's not the same thing as what you did with the perfect circle tool. You know, manipulate it in some way so that I can tell that it is not the same tool and that you've gone in and used the snip and sketch tool. But anyway, you take that photo, and that photo is what you will upload for this lab.